Piper's Notes. I'm Piper, and this is my dad. Today we have a very, 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 very special episode of Piper's Notes. We have Mama Storm's baby boy, the real world's champion, Tim Storm.
Man, what an honor. And I don't know if I can live up to that many berries. No, I'm serious. I'm very, 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 very excited to be here with you guys. So thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on, champ.
Mr. Storm, normally we don't talk about this a lot about pro wrestling, but I need to get this out of the way. Thank you for crushing Danny Deals.
I actually enjoyed that a lot myself, so you're very welcome, and it was a pleasure to crush Danny Deals. Actually, I look back on that and I think I probably should have heard him. I probably should have done more when I had the chance. I had 5 minutes. I'm not sure I cashed it in, but thank you so much. Yeah, that touched the nerve with me. You can mess with a lot of things. You can't mess with Mama Storm. So that would fire me in.
We try to raise our daughters to be peaceful people, but if you go back and watch that episode of Power, you'll hear when you're out there in there, you'll hear a familiar voice out in the audience saying, "Kill him!" And that is her.
I have a lot of respect for that. Thank you. I'm actually going to go back and listen now. I'm going to go back and listen to it. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay. Okay. So let's address the elephant in the room. You're a history buff. I'm a history buff. What's your favorite historical time period?
Okay. History for me came more out of necessity. Okay, so I've been teaching history now for 7 years. I taught science for 5 years before that. Just because I speak my heart, I'm honest. If I go back to like my time in junior high and high school, I was not a great student. School was fine, but I was not a great student. Answer your question. I find the Civil War extremely. Obviously it's an issue right now that it's a volatile issue, and it always has been. But studying the Civil War, looking at the Emancipation Proclamation, the things that built up to it, it's probably become the thing that is most fun for me to teach. I'm just curious, what's your favorite? I don't want to interview you. I don't want to take your interview time, but I'm curious.
It's fine. Mine is the Revolutionary War and the founding period.
Okay.
Now, this question sounds like...
But before you ask that question, as that leads in, I wanted to tell you that that's my doctorate. I actually did my dissertation on the Battle of Chickamauga, Braxton Bragg, and it's got a really fascinating title. It's a leader-member exchange in the Army of Tennessee during the 1863 campaigns for Chattanooga. So it's online. You can go back.
No, and ironically, Piper, today we're talking right now about establishing the colonies and all that kind of stuff. But I brought up to my class, we were at introduction, we were talking about the Star Spangled Banner. That was what on our curriculum. But we brought up the War of 1812, and we talked a lot about the Revolutionary War, and a lot of even like 12 and 13-year-olds don't know that we went back to war with England for a second time in the War of 1812. So Revolutionary War is that's a inspiring period of time.
Have you ever been to the Smithsonian in I think it's the Smithsonian Museum of American History in D.C., and they have the Star Spangled Banner, the original one from Fort McHenry, displayed? My wife and I, we're not, I'm a military veteran also. I'm not a very emotional person. I get, the older I get, the more I am, especially with my youngest one when she was born. But and my wife isn't either. My wife's a very strong woman. She's a good woman, but we're not very emotional. And we walked into that particular museum, and it comes up on you. It's one of the pieces they showcase, but you walk around the corner, and you walk in front of it, and it's almost like a religious experience seeing that flag. You're just like shocked and moved and almost to tears to see it.
Well, today, and I told you guys the other night that for me teaching, I think one of the questions is what relations does teaching have with wrestling? Because that's a weird. Today I was in full-on promo mode on the Star Spangled Banner. I told my students, I said, put all the political stuff aside. What I want you to listen to, and I told them, here's the story of what's happening when he writes that. Boy, you're going to get me to start preaching here. It's a deal where we stand up or we don't stand up at a football game or a baseball game. and we sing the words, and we all know the words, but we don't know the situation where they were written. And I was telling the story, and I have 6 classes. I told it 6 times a day, and I found myself every single time, I won't say getting emotional, but getting fired up. And then I would say, now, let's listen to the words. And when I play I play the start, but it's inspiring. The way it was written, why it was written. Okay. And again, all politics aside, I tell my students, you are welcome to your opinion. It's yours. That's not what we're here to talk about. So all that aside, Star Spangled Banner is inspirational in how it was written and where it was written and when it was written.
Absolutely.
So, who is your absolute favorite founding father and why? Continuing with the topic of political things.
Or historical.
Well, historical.
Yeah.
Political.
I'm gonna choose an odd one, and to me, there's a couple of obvious answers, but I gotta be careful because there's so many sides to every founding father. Some we know, some we don't know. But I find Benjamin Franklin to be absolutely hilarious, right? I mean, there's a lot to think, and there's lots of parts of Benjamin Franklin that probably aren't that funny, I mean, there's some, but
He's
you guys may know this. Yeah, I know. Piper, you said you're a history, but you probably know this. But did you know that Benjamin Franklin actually wanted the turkey to be our bird of the nation instead of the bald eagle? Yeah, he did it intentionally and seriously, but he also was laughing while he did it. Right? I mean, that's funny. And you look at our time period now, probably maybe more appropriate than the regal bald eagle. I'm just saying, Benjamin Franklin did a lot for the. I mean, he was a Renaissance man. He could do everything. He was anti-slavery. He was a Quaker. Look at all the things he invented. I mean, again, you're getting me start teaching, but it's everything from the Franklin stove to bifocal glasses and the lightning rod, which saved lives. He was a printer. He wrote under a pseudonym. He was an emissary, an ambassador to France. I mean, he did everything. His sense of humor is what kept the founding fathers from fighting all the time, writing the Constitution. So I'm going to choose him, but legitimately, I think you could choose 25 other guys and be right about all of them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've always been a reader, but I'm just starting to get into real books, like biographies, like my dad reads. Do you have any books from your time period that you like?
From like what I teach, or are you just asking about? Well, my favorite books, like you were saying, your dad likes historical fact. Fact is what I'm hearing, and I am very much a fiction person. My favorite book growing up, my first real book that I read was The Hobbit. Tolkien's The Hobbit, and that kind of made me fall in love with The Lord of the Rings and all those kind of things. Man, I'm gonna crush my tough guy champion image, but I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. Again, all fiction.
So we got to ask, what house? What house do you identify with?
If I said Slytherin, I would crush the world. So I'm a Gryffindor to the core. But also, when I took those tests, you could answer them however you want. You named what you want, right? So I wanted to be a Gryffindor. That's what I chose. So the brave of heart. So
I'm a Hufflepuff.
And okay, and I am a nerd, aren't I? But the Hufflepuffs, if you look at it, you just said it right. You said you love to read, and the Hufflepuffs were known for their logic and their intelligence. So that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, they're very curious and peculiar sort, And what's the one girl, the Hufflepuff, that the most prominent one of the girl that has the crush on? Gosh, I can't remember. I'm not even going to go that way because I'm going to embarrass myself.
And I'm going to draw a blank here, but not Luna Lovegood.
Yes, Luna Lovegood. Luna Lovegood. She's Hufflepuff, right?
I don't remember.
That's what I'm drawing. That's what I'm drawing the blank on. I can't remember. So it's weird.
Okay, so if you could go back to a time period, what event or battle would you like most to have seen?
This sounds terrible, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think, although it was the bloodiest 3-day battle in history, I think the Battle of Gettysburg, from what I've read and what I've seen about it, they said that They were in such close quarters. They fought for 3 days. It was the largest death count of all the battles. But they said that the gun smoke was so thick in the air you couldn't see 4 or 5 feet in front of you. It also becomes really the turning point of the war. Up to that point, the South had been on the offensive, and they were trying to take over Washington, D.C. They were attacking into the North. They lost so many soldiers at the Battle of Gettysburg that they had to change their whole strategy. It became a defensive battle. They dropped back into the South and basically said, we're just going to see how long we can make this last. Maybe they'll quit and leave us alone. So that sounds terrible that I want to see the bloodiest 3-day battle in American history, but the Battle of Gettysburg was a turning point. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be down there shooting in the cornfields and all that, but I would like to at least witness part of it.
Now, you're originally from Arkansas, I believe. That is the home state of Patrick Cleburne. Are you familiar with Patrick Cleburne? He's probably the greatest division commander in the Civil War on either side, Union or Confederate. They called him the Stonewall of the West. Now, he did fight for the Confederacy, so that's unfortunate. But he was from County Cork, Ireland, and he settled in came to America and settled in Arkansas. And he is a really, really he's one of my favorite guys. So I just I can send you some stuff on him. He's got a very great biography, but he's probably Arkansas's greatest soldier.
No, I didn't know that, and that would interest me. Please do. I would like to see that, yes.
So to follow up on what Piper just asked you about what you would like to have witnessed, if you did go back, if you were in Gettysburg in July of 1863, but you remember everything about the past or the future that you just left, what would you miss most? Like what pop trends, what food, what bands, what sports would you most miss?
I tell my students all the time, when we talk about, whether we're talking about exploration or colonization, or we're talking about westward expansion, I tell my students, boy, that would not have been me. I'm just saying, I'm not that guy that looks over and goes, okay, I'm on foot and I only have a canteen of water, but I wonder what's on the other side of that mountain and I have to go find out, right? Mm-hmm. Boy, this, again, it sounds terrible. I need, like my TV close by, I need air conditioning, I need to know that I have my grill that I can cook, you know what I'm saying? So I would miss just the conveniences of life. I was teaching today and we were talking about the Quakers, and I said one of the reasons why Quakers all looked alike is because they wore wigs, and of course everybody giggles, and I'm like, well, it was a practical purpose. Let's be real, there were no showers. There were very few bathtubs. If you took a bath, you had cold water unless you heated it, and only the wealthy. I said, so the wig is there to absorb the grease and the oil from their hair, and the perfume is to cover up the stench because everybody stank, right? So, I'm just saying, I need conveniences. I need deodorant. I need a shower. Makes me sound pampered. I don't think I am, but yeah, I wouldn't miss pop music. There's a lot of things I wouldn't miss. Give me my bed. Even when I'm traveling wrestling, I need my bed at home to sleep because I don't sleep well. So,
so now, him having said that and just educated you on that, would you still like to go back and live in New York City at the time of Hamilton the musical, when those events were taking place, that you'd have to have a wig to soak up grease and that you'd probably smell?
I'd be a girl, so you wouldn't really wear a wig.
Yeah.
No wigs, but showers still not an option.
But I'm a girl. I can have perfume, so I can just.
You're very right, and I actually have this. I don't know this smell theory. It's like when something smells really bad and they spray Lysol, but all you can really smell is stinky Lysol. That is my thought on perfume in that time period, because I think it was just covered up the stench and it was probably just stink. But you're right. As a girl, you can get by with that. I don't think I could.
It's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. There's something about the smell of the American male student, public school student, and every teacher can immediately identify the smell of Axe body spray.
Yep. and especially, Piper, I'm sure you don't ever deal with this. I say sarcastically, but following athletics in the afternoon, somewhere around 6th or 7th period, when everybody's been sweating and nobody showers, it's you don't realize how bad the room smells until you walk out and walk back in, and you go, "Wow, my room really stinks." And but you're absolutely right.
Now I know
You
that
would never do that, Piper. I know you would never. I get it.
No, one time my teacher was eating beans, and we switched classes to go back into our normal class, and she had eaten beans, and the room smelled like gross beans, and it smelled really bad.
Under our quarantine, I eat in my room alone, which means I have to heat up my food alone in my room. And when the students come back from lunch, I'm sure that whatever I have been eating, that my whole room reeks of that, whatever it is. So I got you.
And what is it typically? Like, do you like school lunch, or you're bringing your own meals?
12 years, and I've never eaten in the cafeteria. I am constantly dieting some way or another because of wrestling. Mm-hmm. Today, I think it was turkey chili. Yesterday, it was chopped turkey and chicken. I know it's boring, but it's one of my curses in life is I gain weight really fast and I lose weight really slow. So it's a constant battle of trying to stay in shape.
Now, you mentioned just a second ago, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take over the interview, and I won't. You got the next question, but you mentioned athletics and all that. Now, I know that you try to separate you being a pro wrestler and your craft of education. Do they ever try to pressure you into being a coach, or have you coached middle school sports?
I have never coached. I get called coach 10 times a day, and I don't correct anybody. I think there's just the perception that if I'm a big guy, and I have some type of athletic, they think I'm coaching something. I have been asked to coach at one of the high schools wrestling, and I don't think they quite understood that what I can teach will probably not help them in a Greco-Roman match starting in the down position. I have some of that, but I graduated college a really long time ago, and when I was in college, what I thought I wanted to do was coach. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do that more than teach. But I didn't start teaching until 12 years ago, and I've never actually, other than my kids growing up, I never actually coached.
So you probably know by now that I'm all about Broadway. I love drama, musicals, dance, singing, just all of it. Marty Bell once described that pro wrestling is the ultimate form of performance arts. Can you agree, and can you elaborate?
I'll absolutely agree. I think, again, there's a misperception out there that, and again, there's always some truth to it. It's just some big sweaty guys out there, doing something. It involves to be one of the top guys, top girls. You have to be able to do everything. I don't know that theater is and that's the word that's coming to my mind. I don't know that theater is the right word, but to stand up in front of a crowd of any size and speak, to work in a match and try to appear to be killing somebody when in reality you don't want to hurt them. There's all sorts, and there's all forms of athleticism. And you see, there's the guys that are the 720 flip, and you got guys like me that are more brutes that battle, but it's all athleticism. But if you just have that aspect of it, you're not going to be one of the top guys. You have to be able to, the presentation, you have to be able to present yourself in a professional way, and you look like a wrestler. You have to be able to perform in the ring. You have to show facial features that are dramatic, whether it's pain or excitement or whatever it is, and you have to combine all those things basically on the fly constantly, because it's constantly changing. You hear all the time about people that say, it's a choreographed performance, and the reality is it's never a choreographed performance, because something always goes wrong, different than you planned, but you can't let anybody know that but you. So it's a combination of all those things, and it is you have to be able to do it. So I'm a Marty Bell fan, and that's a great quote. I agree with that 100%.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you seen a Broadway musical? If so, what is your favorite? Do you have any favorites?
I am not much traveled except for wrestling, and I have traveled a lot in wrestling. I have never been to an actual Broadway production. I have seen a few off Broadway. I'm going to not bury the lead, but I mean, I think we went to see Wicked at one point. We've
Which
seen
is Nick
several.
Aldis' favorite, by the way. Nick Aldis is
Really?
a huge Wicked fan.
If that's true, then I don't like it. I don't. Like I said, I don't want to bury the lead, but man, I love Hamilton. I love Hamilton, and it's in every way, shape, or form. I mean, my daughter put me on to Hamilton. Maybe I don't know. Well, I was teaching history, so 4 years ago. I don't know. And she said, "Dad, you have to hear." My daughter is an adult with 2 children, but she said, "You have to hear this," because she said so much of it is history, and it fits with what you're teaching, and it's just good. And again, I break every stereotype. I grew up and still listen to a lot of hip hop, so when you throw in Hamilton and a lot of it's hip hop, history and hip hop together, that's home for me, and it's good stuff. It doesn't get any better. That's my favorite.
That's what I like to hear.
So I got that question right. Okay.
Oh no, you got them all right. So we encourage, one of the lessons we try to instill in our kids is like every form of, especially like creative art, is legitimate, especially in music. We love hip hop in our house. We listen to everything from gospel to contemporary Christian to heavy metal is one of our favorites, to hip hop. So just real quick, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because I really want to watch this video with you.
I do
but
too.
Who's your favorite hip hop band? Just out of curiosity.
Okay, first off, I'm going to say I'm old school, but I want to paraphrase that by saying I'm old, right? So when I started listening to hip hop, it was literally Sugar Hill Gang, Fat Boys, Run DMC. If I have to pick one, it's going to be Run DMC. Currently, I'm a big Eminem fan. I listen to my Pandora mix in the gym is Dr. Dre, Eminem, Tupac, Biggie.
That's us, man.
That's me. I don't want to disparage anybody who likes mumble rap. I just don't get it. I don't. Not my thing. Old school rap is kind of the way I go, and that's what I listen to almost all the time.
That's cool.
Please don't mind me if I sing during this episode. Because you've said.
Wait a minute. Don't mind me if I sing too. It depends on what you pick, because some of those I will not try to save my life. So.
All right. Well,
what did you pick? You're killing me. What'd you pick? I want to hear.
We are going to sing, or we're going to watch
Schuyler Sisters.
A clip. This is from the Hamill Film Channel, but this is the original cast of Hamilton, and they are doing the Schuyler Sisters, and you have the link there, I believe. And all right, we'll do this on 3, 2, and 1. Oh, that's not. We're not getting old. Let me try. We'll keep going with it. There we go.
Peggy.
The 3 sisters. We were confused. I don't know if you know, Champ, about like Peggy's role in this. She disappears like almost instantly from the musical.
Well, because she.
And I actually at one point looked it up. I think there were actually 8 Schuylers. She actually had 7 siblings. And they're so good.
Which one is your favorite?
I'm going to choose Angelica. That's what I'm at.
She's cool,
Peggy,
man.
Not my favorite, so it only narrows it down.
I like Peggy just because I think she plays the double role of Mariah Reynolds so well. I think she gets more time and more attention as Mariah Reynolds. I think that's a better part. I don't know which she would like, and I've watched most of the stuff about them.
I like Eliza.
She's actually reading an Eliza biography right now.
Nice.
What's the name of the Eliza biography you're reading right now?
I think the life of Eliza Hampton, the wife without Princess becomes pain, so men say one intense and unseen. You want a revolution, I want a revelation. So listen to my declaration.
I love this little choreography right here. And have you guys watched it on Disney Plus?
More times than I would admit. Yes.
That's fantastic.
The Hamilton mark, the rotating floor,
I love
disco
it.
floor, just completely blows me away.
What's that? What's the in the eye of the hurricane?
Yes.
Where you see it like slowly, and then with the Reynolds pamphlet, the storm erupts. Every time I watch this, there are more things that stand out, like the character of the bullet. You know.
I was going to bring that up. Yes. Yes. Well, and when you brought up the hurricane, I saw something the other day that said anytime they're looking at something futuristic, it spins clockwise. Anytime that you start talking about something in the past, it spins counterclockwise because it's going back in time.
And Peggy.
This is just fantastic.
It's not a matter of if, it's which one.
That's right. I love it.
That's great
The
stuff.
Schuyler Sisters.
Piper, you have great taste in music and musicals.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
But everyone loves Hamilton.
I haven't found anybody that doesn't. Most of my students in the past few years had not heard of it. And the normal thing when you're a teacher and you put on any type of video, they start rolling the eyes because they think it's going to be cheesy, especially if it's rap. And then they're immediately blown away at how good it is, and they're forced to listen no matter how much they're rolling their eyes. It's that good.
Blow us all away.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Okay. As far as other form of dramas go, are you into, say, Star Wars?
I am into early Star Wars. The later Star Wars, I had a little bit more difficult time. And like I know on the Disney one, it has the Mandalorian, and I've got into that a little bit. That's good. But I'd still go back to the original, which are not 1, 2, and 3, but the ones that were put out as first, second, third, to me are the best.
Yeah.
The other ones are all good, but old school, still with the old ones.
I'm with you. The originals are the best. One thing I do like about the later ones is they kind of develop the whole Jedi and Sith mythology out a little bit more. And to kind of piggyback on her question, you are currently, and hopefully forever, one of the great good guys in wrestling. I mean, you're universally respected, admired. You are, you're the father figure of sorts in the modern iteration of the NWA. But it wasn't always like that, Mr. Storm. We got to call a spade a spade. For a lot of your career, you were a pretty nasty guy. So who do you identify with more, the Jedi or the Sith?
Ooh, at this point, I'm Jedi. That's just the way it is. I don't. I guess you could say the Darth Vader role, which is, a little bit of both at times, because starting out he was very much a face. At this point in my career, age-wise, all that, I'm pretty sure this is it for, I'll stick with what I got. But in wrestling, you never say 100% anything. Right. You just never know.
We're Sith over here.
Oh, yeah, we're Sith and Slytherin.
Nothing wrong with that.
Except for me, I'm Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuff, yeah, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm probably known in our NWA fam as like the biggest Aldis mark on her. So much so that I will argue that he's not really a heel. He's misunderstood.
Like the Phantom.
It did not feel like a misunderstanding to me when I was laying in the ring. It felt very clear, like he knew who he was and what he was doing. So I would argue against what you said.
You're obviously you're a learned man. You're a cultured person. I've been curious to know, and again, we don't typically come on here and speak a lot about pro wrestling. Our mission is to show that wrestling is a very form of high culture along the lines of any other performance art out there. Who else in pro wrestling have you encountered that you would say is extremely refined in culture? And I'm not saying bury anybody, but who particularly stands out?
I'm going to name people that may not be great friends of mine, but I have visited with briefly. JBL is extremely refined and cultured. you guys said you're a big Nick Aldis fan. Nick is is very intelligent, and can talk to you in major intelligence on any issue, political. But the weird thing is, there are a lot of those in wrestling. Mick Foley is a Renaissance man. Mick Foley knows a little bit about everything, and despite his gimmick, very intelligent. I mean, an educated, college degree. So I mean, there are a lot of them out there. Because of what we do, the public perception is grunt, sweat. Probably can't read. Go back and look at even like George the Animal Steele was a school teacher.
Yeah.
Educated. So, I mean, he portrayed somebody who couldn't speak or, who ate ring posts. I mean, there's tons of them, but those are the ones that come to my mind right off the bat.
Do you ever, and I think like one of the ones that come to my mind, but just because I've encountered them here locally, is Jocephus. Did you ever, you guys had the fabulous empty arena. Your feud was one of the 3 key things in the rebirth of the NWA. That one. I mean, I put it in the top 3. Did you guys ever sit backstage and like talk, film or philosophy? He was a seminary student. He, you're a man of faith, and he. So I don't know.
Well, I'm having that old school debate about what
and don't feel like you have to break any kind of kayfabe or anything. I don't want you to do that. So.
It's fine. There have been times where we have sat and visited, and well, I don't want to break his stuff either, but he's a music professor. He has a music background, like you said. He has some seminary. At one point, thought about getting into the ministry. Very educated, can talk intelligently about just about anything. And he and I kind of laugh. Because of our in-ring relationship, we have kind of a laughingly, jokingly love-hate relationship where we joke all the time about how much we dislike the other one. And in reality, I think we get along great. We have a lot of respect for each other, and we like each other. It's just we did a lot of damage to each other physically, and there, those scars come with it sometimes. So, but yeah, I love him to death.
So I'm in the 5th grade at Saddle Ridge. I'm curious to know what does it look like in your classroom for your first day of school?
Oh man, I worked straight heel as a teacher, especially the first 2 or 3 weeks of school. There has been some argument that like my daughter would not have enjoyed my classes because she was gifted and talented and very talkative. And I believe that you set the tone. I believe you set the tone on the first few days of school about what your expectations are. Well, I'm going to sound terrible. I stand at the door and basically say, come in, please sit down and don't talk. Get out your stuff. It's a very controlled environment. I go through and I talk about my family. I talk about my background. And then I lay out the expectations. And I do that every day for about a week. I don't do this, but there's an old teaching joke that says you don't smile till Christmas. I don't hold back that long. I show my personality pretty early, but I also have a very serious side once we're in the classroom. So it's not a laughing, talking, up and moving. It's a very disciplined, controlled. And then I tell them, when it's time to talk, we're going to talk, and I want your input. But until that time, so it's pretty quiet atmosphere, especially now with everybody's got their own device now, laptop of some kind, which is our first time to ever do that, which I'm surprised actually makes the classroom more quiet as they sit and do their work on their computer. So it's not, and again, social distancing, not a lot of group activities, not a lot of movement. You got to try to stay separated. So anyway, that's my first day of class.
Now, what grade is it that you teach right now?
I teach 8th grade U.S. history, which is Magna Carta, and then exploration, colonization, all the way through the Civil War through the Reconstruction.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then for our school, and it may be that way. I don't know. In high school, 10th or 11th grade, they do the second part of U.S. history, which is World War I, World War II, all the way to current.
So when a student gets their schedule and they look down and they say, "Oh, Mr. Storm," what are they saying? What's your reputation like among the student body? Are they like yes, or are they like, "Oh my gosh, this is"?
The rumor, the statement used to be, and I don't know what it is now. It's a new year. The statement used to be, Mr. Scoggins doesn't play. and they like me. That's the weird thing is, by the end of the year, most of my students will like me, even the ones who I have to be the hardest on to get them to do what they need to do are the ones that usually end up liking me the most. There probably are more fun teachers. There's probably not a funnier teacher, at least in our department. In our department, we all have our different styles. Mine works for me. My kids usually perform pretty well, and ultimately, I just want them to be successful.
Okay. You may get asked about this, a lot, but I've got to know about that Joe Exotic photograph of you and him.
I haven't been asked about that in a while. Joe was somebody who originally I met because we went out. One of the promoters that I worked for quite a bit was very good friends with Joe. The promoter is an exotic animal guy. He has 2 or 3 monkeys at home. He has alpacas. But because of that, he started going to Joe's zoo. He didn't call it a zoo, but whatever it was. And as a promoter, at one point, he asked us if we would be willing to come out and do a fundraiser to raise money to help feed the animals. And I'm an animal lover. How do you say no to that? Later, it's going to develop, and that's where those photos were taken. I actually got to go into, probably illegally now that I look back at it, but I actually got to go into an open pen with 15 or 20 full-grown tigers with a golf club with no club on it, with 6 or 7 other guys, and it was both electrifyingly exciting and terrifying at the same time, but a good experience. A lot of those photos were taken there, but later on, Joe is going to become, because, I don't know if you guys have watched the thing, but if you've watched it, he has his own TV studio at those premises at the time. So he starts bringing those cameras out and using wrestling and becomes almost like a commentator. He knows nothing about wrestling. Was not a great wrestling commentator, but he was a personality. So he was out there every month. And I won't say we built up a friendship, but I will say this. Those of us that were involved had no idea what was going on out there. For us, it was just a way to try to help feed the animals. And once that hit, I had not watched it. Now, it was during the shutdown, and I watched it. I had plenty of time to watch it. I did. But those pictures started hitting, and that made me go watch the documentary. And the first thing I did was call my NWA. And I went, guys, we need to get out in front of this. I need to do something explaining, why I'm there and what I'm doing. And of course, they were needing content too because of the shutdown. So they were like, yeah, let's do it. So
yeah.
On a side note, I saw that Carol Baskin's going to be on Dancing with the Stars.
I heard that too.
There you go.
So
she's going to be on Dancing with the Stars?
Breaking news.
We got scoops.
So I don't know.
Well, Champ, look, you have been super gracious with your time. I know we've got some content to watch tonight. That's some exciting stuff, and of course, it will have long been passed by the time this airs. But we just want to tell you how much we appreciate you and your contribution to professional wrestling, the greatest sport in the world. You're universally admired. You're revered in our household. You've held the 10 pounds of gold, which is as far as we're concerned, it's the greatest achievement you can ever attain. And as much of a Nick Aldis fan as I am, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you got that strap again. And the stipulation notwithstanding, but one final question: where do you see Tim Storm at in 5 years from now?
Oh wow!
Or where do you hope to see Tim Storm at?
Well, I hope to always be involved in wrestling. I love professional wrestling. It's my passion. It's what I want to do. Obviously, I'm 56 right now. I'm not going to wrestle into my 60s. I will not. I do not see myself in the ring, active wrestling. But I'd like to be involved with something. Right now, I'm already working. I was already working with the NWA some on the production side. They were letting me get into some of those things. I'm working with another company called SWE, where I've been booking at different places for 6 or 8 years. I want to be in the wrestling business, whether that's an on-air personality as a commentator or a manager or backstage as a booker, production guy. I want to be involved. It's my passion. It's my love. I really like teaching, but wrestling has always been my passion. So 5 years from now, I want to be on the production staff of the NWA as it becomes the highest rated and most watched wrestling show in the world. There's my company pitch.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, Nick Aldis is the national treasure, but you are a true national treasure. And again, I don't want to come on here and mark out or anything because I got to maintain some street cred.
Absolutely.
But
hey guys, I appreciate you. Piper's Notes. I've always been a big fan. I've wanted to do it forever and ever and ever. Thank you for letting me. Thank you guys for being part of the family. Without you guys, we're up there doing nothing. Yeah, we're up there doing nothing in front of nobody. So you guys are what make it happen, and I appreciate you. We all appreciate you. So thank you so much, and thanks for letting me come on.
Absolutely, thank you, champ.
Hamilton forever.